For close to 2,000 years, billions of people have placed their trust in the words of the Bible. But are these stories really true? And can we trust the Bible as history? Or is it simply a collection of religious fables and myths? This is a big question that many people wrestle with. So let's explore this topic further and discover the truth. The Bible consists of two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament tells the story of the creation of the world, the fall of man, the Great Flood, the Tower of Babel, and the early patriarchs of the human race, including Adam, Eve, Noah, and Abraham. The New Testament tells the story of Jesus Christ, his birth, his teachings, his death on the cross, his resurrection, and the founding of the Christian Church. These are all amazing stories that have had a profound impact on the course of human history. But the question still remains, are these stories true? Are they factual accounts of what really happened in the past? Or are they just stories that were written to teach people about God and how to live their lives? Now, there are some people who claim that the Bible is literally true in every sense. They believe that the world was created in 6 days, just as it says in Genesis. They believe that there was a global flood that lasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and that Noah's Ark was the only thing that survived. They also believe that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, that he performed miracles such as walking on water and raising people from the dead, and that he was crucified and resurrected, just as the Bible says. On the other hand, there are some people who reject the Bible as a historical account altogether. They believe that all of the stories in the Bible are just myths and legends that were made up by ancient people who didn't know any better. They believe that these stories should not be taken literally, but rather as symbolic or metaphorical representations of deeper truths. So which of these perspectives is correct? Is the Bible literally true, or is it just a collection of myths and legends? Well, the answer is not so simple, and it requires us to do a little bit of critical thinking and to examine the evidence. First of all, we need to remember that the Bible was written in a different time and in a different culture than our own. The Old Testament was written over a period of several hundred years, from around 1400 BC to around 400 BC. The New Testament was written in the 1st century AD, and these books were originally written in the Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek languages. It's important to understand the historical and cultural context in which these books were written, because the language and style of writing can tell us a lot about the author's intentions. For example, in the ancient Near East, where the Old Testament was written, it was very common to use poetic language and hyperbole in everyday speech. The people of that time did not have a scientific understanding of the world, so they often attributed natural phenomena to the actions of gods and goddesses. When we read the creation account in Genesis, for example, we need to keep in mind that the author is using poetic language to describe the origins of the world. The same is true of the story of the flood. It was not intended as a literal account of a global flood, but rather as an explanation of how the world came to be the way it is. Now, this does not mean that the Bible is not true, or that we should not take it seriously. It just means that we need to read it in the context of the time in which it was written. We also need to keep in mind that the Bible is a collection of books that were written by different authors for different purposes. Not every book in the Bible was intended to be a historical account. For example, the Gospels in the New Testament were written as biographies of Jesus Christ, but they were written from the perspective of faith. The authors were not trying to give a literal, scientific account of Jesus' life, but rather to show how he exemplified God's love and salvation for humanity. So when we ask the question, can we trust the Bible as history, we need to be careful how we phrase our question. If we ask whether every word in the Bible is literally true, then the answer is probably not. But if we ask whether the Bible contains valuable historical information that can help us understand the origins of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus Christ, then the answer is yes. The Bible is a rich source of history, and it can teach us a lot about the development of human civilization, religious beliefs, and the spread of Christianity. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe for more updates.